Cochin and Trivandrum airports, websites and many more have been hacked by Park cyber attackers. All the websites are in the same server and these are mostly airport websites which have come under the attack from the hackers.
When the enemy struck, we struck back strong. They tried to break us, but we proved them wrong. When our airport was under attack that day, we hacked Islamabad, made them pay. We are the warriors, the shield of the land, guarding cyberspace with a mighty stand. Every phishing trap we tear apart, protecting India with a fearless heart. Coal India was hacked, they thought they won. We restored it back, the battle was won. Their every move we turned to dust. Cybersecurity, in us they trust. China sent phishing to steal and deceive. We launched Margarshak for people to believe. A tool for the masses to keep them aware. No hacker's trick could bring us despair. Cohen was launched for the vaccination call. We found the loophole before it could fall. OTPs could be stolen, vaccines misused. We sealed the breach, no chance for abuse. We are the warriors, the shield of the land, guarding cyberspace with a mighty stand. Every phishing trap we tear apart, protecting India with a fearless heart. We are the warriors, the shield of the land, guarding cyberspace with a mighty stand. Every phishing trap we tear apart, protecting India with a fearless heart. 130 plus clients we secured with pride, strengthening systems, standing side by side. Indian cyber security, our name so grand. We are the protectors of this digital land.
Hello everyone, my name is Debashish Roy. I'm the head of training and development at the Indian Cybersecurity Solution, and I welcome you all to this live workshop on beginner-friendly Cisco network automation. So we'll begin with the Cisco's journey, that is the network journey with the broadcast domains. I will tell you about the subnets. We'll discuss about the VLAN because that is a part of this series of network automation. Like we'll talk about the virtual LAN. What is a LAN? And then we'll talk about the virtual LAN, the VLAN, how to deploy the VLAN. That also I'll show you. And then a very interesting one, that is network automation, because everything is moving towards automation. So first, let's start with VLAN. What is a VLAN? So let's dive deep. So we will have an in-depth exploration of Cisco VLAN configuration. Now, before I begin, what is a LAN? LAN is a broadcast domain. Means that where all the PCs are communicating with themselves. That is the broadcast domain where broadcast, multicast, unicast. So these traffic is flowing. That is the broadcast domain. So whatever traffic you are having, say the broadcast traffic. That is, say it is directed to everybody, to many. Like you are having a destination IP of 255.255.255.255. So in that case, that is broadcast domain. So where all the pieces are communicating. So in this case, we like to see the OSI model perspective where you are having the ARP. You're having the ARP communication, the address resolution protocol, and where one PC is actually communicating with the other PC or any other device, but it doesn't know the destination MAC address, because from here everything begins. If you have to do the automation, you have to do the traditional networking. So you have to go for this MAC address because every PC has a physical address, and if you do not know the target, the MAC address, definitely it is not possible for any communication. So let's understand first that what happens in this say MAC address environment. So we're talking about the ARP first, address resolution protocol. Now what does ARP do? If you want to do any communication, what is the role of ARP or ARP? It discovers destination MAC address of PCs. So PCs or in any case any network device. So if I want to communicate, say there is a server, I want to create some VLAN, I want to create some ACL, some access control list. So definitely I should know the destination PC's hardware address. If you think that okay, I know the IP address, so what's the big deal? Because I already know it, so I can send the data, I can ping that IP. Yes, you can, but the thing is that definitely you should have a proper understanding of the MAC address also, because the physical address, a MAC to IP and the IP to MAC, that is the resolution that happens actually. So what will happen that if you have say one PC communicating with other PC, there are two things in the data link layer that we see. One is the Ethernet header, and the other is the ARP header. So in the PC's perspective, so Ethernet header is purely in the data link layer. So whatever information the PC is adding to it, that is in the data link layer. Like it is adding the MAC address information. It adds some other information also in the Ethernet here, like the preamble, those things, and the FCS, the frame check sequence. But I'm just saying about the MAC address now for the time being. So it adds the source MAC and the destination MAC address. So what will be the structure in the Ethernet header of the MAC address, and what will be the structure of the ARP header? That what will be in that ARP header? So let's say that two PCs are going to communicate. So there is one PC and there is another PC. Say it is in the same VLAN, it is in the same broadcast VLAN, but you should understand this communication. Otherwise, by just creating VLAN, it will give some one command, but you will not understand the communication. Let's say this is PCA and this is PCB. Say this is PCA and this is PCB, and this PC is going to communicate with A to B. So what will be in the Ethernet header field? What will be in the Ethernet header? Let's say the PC is communicating, and you can see that the, let's say there is a field, and there you have the source IP like this 1.1, the destination IP 1.2. Let's consider the source MAC address as the A1 and the destination MAC address B1. So the source MAC will be A1 Now, what will be the destination MAC? That is a question, that what will be the destination MAC address? Because if the PC has the destination MAC address in its, let's say, the ARP cache, as we know that PC has everything in its ARP cache, so then what will happen? Then it will definitely send the destination MAC address directly like B1. But let's consider it doesn't have. So in that case, what will happen? In that case, let's say this is the Ethernet header. This is the Ethernet header. So it will send an ARP request, because in the ARP, the destination address is very interesting. It is all zero. So in the ARP header, it will be all zero, means 12 zeros, because there are 12 digits in the MAC address. So here it will be all F. I'm just writing in short 2 Fs. I'm not writing 12 Fs here, but it will be all 12 Fs. Means it is 255, 255, 255, and 255. So if in a broadcast domain, you can just imagine the number, the volume rather, of the broadcast that is going on. So how to create VLAN, that is important. And before that, why to create VLAN? Virtual means what? That it is not real, or it is something that we are creating, because see, it is the same LAN. When you talk about this is the same LAN, because in a switch environment there is only one broadcast domain. You cannot segregate, but logically we are segregating the broadcast domain. So here what is happening, that the volume of traffic is more, because you can imagine, if all the PCs, say 10 PCs, are communicating with themselves, then definitely there will be too much broadcast traffic going on. And we'll see it also in action in a while in the Cisco packet tracer. So what will happen in a LAN, that was the problem, that not only this ARP broadcast, but any communication, let's say any CDP message, Cisco Discrete Protocol, any message you are sending, so that is also broadcast. So what does CDP do? It discovers the network devices and neighbor devices. So that is a big problem, because you will have the bandwidth shortage there, because a large volume of traffic or large volume of broadcast will actually slow down your network, and your network may eventually time out. So in that case, what you can do, you can do the network segmentation. So there are a lot of ways actually to achieve the network segmentation, and one way is the creating the VLAN. Another way is definitely subnet. Now, definitely we all know, I think, about the subnetting, but how to implement the subnetting? You have to implement subnetting by creating these VLANs, because simply, see, you cannot say create any subnets. For that, you need to definitely segment the network in some cases. So the logic is that why to create the VLAN? The create the VLAN is to regulate the broadcast traffic. It is not that you are saving the address space or something. No, it is not like that. Like in the subnetting, there is some false notion everywhere that we are actually saving the IP address space. That is not the case. So now let me further discuss this about this broadcast, and when we go to the journey of creating the VLAN next. So let me go to the packet tracer next, and you can see there are switches. There is a PC. Any third port you can connect. Say it is in a LAN. So these ports are transitioning, because as we know that switches ports are actually transitioning from the blocking, listening, learning, forwarding in the all the spanning tree states. They transition. So this way it is happening. So let me quickly put the IP. So now you just go to the simulation mode and you go to edit filters because you have to capture the packets. Now this ARP should be there and others should be unchecked. And you just, let's say, you ping or you generate rather an Ethernet PDU. So you can say instantly you see a packet that is ARP. If you generate a PDU, a simple PDU, that is, you do not create any, add any complex PDU. So if you just click yes, so you can see that is the source MAC of my PC in the broadcast domain in the LAN. And can you see this all Fs? This is the broadcast that I was talking about. That is the harmful way. That is why you have to do the network segmentation. That is why you have to segregate the LAN in different parts. So if you go to the upload PDU details also, you can see the destination, the MAC address is all broadcast. So other fields are not symbol right now, but this is the ARP. ARP target MAC, as you can see, this is all 0, means it is unknown. Means what is saying here that ARP is telling me that, see, I do not know the destination MAC address. I have no information. So what does Ethernet header do? Is it a data link here? It says as okay, fine. So I am going to send an ARP broadcast. So you just play that and we can see that it is going to the switch. And what will switch do? What is the behavior of the switch? Switch will flood it. It will flood it to every port except the source port. And as you can see, it received so from every port because but we haven't set any specific destination. So let me reset it again and say from here to here. You just have to specify destination, otherwise it will be cancelled by every device. Now you see it is going. Yes, so this piece is only the receiver is also say sending the response back to the source. So it's complete. And if I go to the command prompt and give the command ARP space -a, you can see that it has got the destination piece physical or MAC address. So this is how it happens. But yes, this is not an efficient process. This ARP broadcast again and again is happening, and it is creating an unnecessary lot of traffic in your LAN. So then what you do? You just go for the subnetting. You say you logically change the IP addresses. You can say here you can create 1001 here. Then you go here in this PC and let's say you are having 1.1. Will it communicate? 1.1.0.2. Let me go to the real time. It is communicating because it is in the same network 1.0. But let me say this is 1 dot and this is 2 dot. As you know that this is a class A, so it doesn't matter if I change the value in the second octet. But if I change here to 2102, so it is not communicating because it is in the different LAN, or in our case it requires time out or RTO is coming because it is in the different broadcast domain. So that is the concept of the broadcast domain, means it's different LAN. When you are segmenting, so you will get the subnet mask according to your subnet and host requirement that we already know. So this way you can segment your network. So definitely you cannot communicate with any switch. So even if you create VLAN, let's say I've created this 1.0 VLAN and I've created 2.0 VLAN, but can we communicate? Definitely not, because then you will need the layer 3 device, that is router. So that is the VLAN. VLAN actually gives you the power to control the traffic in the network. So let's again discuss details about the VLAN that I was telling you. So VLANs are essential components of modern networking that allow for logical segmentation of networks that I've already explained. By isolating broadcast traffic, I've already shown you, enhancing security and improving network management. What is a VLAN? VLAN is a logical subnetwork that groups together a collection of devices from different physical LANs. So from different LANs, there you are tagging different traffics. Okay, you tag Ethernet frames with identifiers. I will come into that because what are the VLAN tags are there? You have two tags. There is 802.1q and ISL. I'm coming to that later. But if you want to tag the devices, then VLANs are your best choice. Allows network administrators to manage and segment traffic efficiently. That is the job of the VLAN, thereby optimizing performance and enhancing the security. Now, what is about the security? Yes, in a VLAN, you can say incorporate the ACL, the access control list. So we all know that ACL is like a firewall rules. So you can actually prevent the one network, one broadcast domain to access the others. So that you can do. So what are the benefits of using VLANs? Improve network security. VLANs improve network security by isolating sensitive data and devices within specific segments. So let's say we are having any government organization or any say like military organization. So you do not want to expose your resources to the outside world, will you? Definitely not. So in that case, you can put it either in the cloud data center, or if you want your existing premise to host that device, definitely you have to keep it in such a VLAN environment. So definitely you have to isolate the devices in that sense. And for unauthorized users to access critical resources, definitely it will be difficult because you're isolating and you are actually incorporating security there. Now it uses enhanced performance because by segmenting network traffic, VLANs actually reduce the amount of data transmitted across the entire network. So definitely if the data, the bulk of data that is being sent in a network reduces, definitely it will increase the network performance because there will be no such bottleneck, leading to increased performance and faster response times for applications. Simplified management. VLAN simplify network management by allowing administrators to actually organize and manage devices based on their function. So how does the VLAN is created? Will you create VLANs according to location? If you go by book, they will tell you. But actually, in physical environment or practice, I can tell you it is mostly created based on the departments. Yes. So if you're having any IT department, any finance, any marketing, training department, so you can actually segregate the pieces inside those that departments, and actually you can group the pieces. It is like, you can say, it is like a group that we see in the OS level. So you add the users to the group and you just assign the permissions on this group the same way it is done. Reduce broadcast traffic, that we already know that VLAN significantly reduce the broadcast traffic by confining the broadcast domains, and helps in minimizing unnecessary traffic that can slow down your network. So definitely reduces the broadcast traffic, and it's helps in preventing hampering your network. Now, what are the types of VLAN? Now, if you want to go for VLAN according to the function, see, according to configuration, there are two. One is the static VLAN that will configure here, and one is the dynamic VLAN that requires a special switch like the layer 3 switch, because on layer 2 switch, in the access layer switch, you have no ability to configure the dynamic VLAN. So static VLAN is statically configured by configuring all the VLANs and by including the ports of the switches to the respective VLANs, and that is configured in the layer 2 as well as layer 3 switch. But according to functionality, data VLAN, so whatever we create, that is data VLAN, means it has the datas, the voice, video and data, that is the thing. Another thing is voice VLAN. So if you're having data VLAN, so what will happen in the data VLAN, you cannot add any device like the Cisco IP phone, that you cannot add this VLAN, because it supports the VoIP, voice over internet protocol, that is the protocol it supports, and it needs to have the voice VLAN. So you have to add the devices in the voice VLAN. And management VLAN security definitely should be there. Management VLAN means your native VLAN, means your VLAN 1. So there is a VLAN ID that we'll talk about, that is a 12-bit long. So management VLAN is a VLAN 1 that is already there. You cannot create any management VLAN. So that is already there, and it is for doing the management activities in the switch, like giving you the IP address, the default gateway, these things, and the native VLAN default route that I was talking about, the native VLAN default role. So native VLAN is a VLAN which is by default, it is not encrypted. All other VLAN, they carry the encrypted data traffic, but say in case of native VLAN, it doesn't carry the encrypted data traffic. Now let's discuss about the VLAN tagging and trunking. Tagging means what? When, let's say, one switch is communicating with the other switch, so in that case you have that. Let's say there is one switch, or rather, let me take you to the word, and here we are going to see. So what is the native VLAN actually? So if you are having, say, you are having different devices, like you are having a VLAN ID, that is 12-bit long. So how many VLANs you get? To the power 12, that is 4094 VLANs. And you have the VLANs that is reserved, that is 0, and the last one, that is a 4095, that is reserved. So definitely you do not get that. And some VLANs are reserved for the FDDI, the tokening I will show you. These are the very old technologies, but still they are reserved for that. And also, if I say, let's say there is a switch, this one, another switch, and if you create the, let's say, the link between the switches, so this is called the trunk. This is called the trunk link. And on this trunk link, you have the encapsulation that is either ISL or 802.1q. ISL is known as the inter-switch link. ISL is known as the inter-switch link, that is from the Cisco itself. So that is obsolete. Nobody uses it because in the Cisco environment, only the Cisco switches, Cisco routers that uses ISL. And dot 1q, it is a vendor neutral. So in IEEE, they have this dot 1q, and that is vendor neutral. So nowadays on switches, it is automatically, I think, dot 1q. At least in a 2960, you do not need to physically incorporate the encapsulation, it automatically takes. But on router interfaces, it actually, you have to configure the dot 1q encapsulation. So what is the difference apart from this vendor? In dot 1q, you add a 4-byte header. In dot 1q, you add a 4-byte header. So what happens that the VLAN frame size gets increased by 4 byte. But in case of let's say the ISL, it doesn't happen. So what happens in case of ISL, before and after the encapsulation, it is actually the same. But an ISL frame is different, the header is different, so we'll not discuss that right now because ISL is obsolete. So trunking means that you have to send the data in an encapsulated manner. So encapsulating the VLAN information you have to do within the Ethernet frame header. So you have to allow multiple VLANs to share the same physical link, because it's not that you are having a one access link. Access link is that only it carries a single VLAN information. And trunk link is that between switch to switch, means between two switches, or between one switch to one router, you create the trunk link. So the trunk link carries the multiple VLAN data or multiple VLAN information. Now, how to configure the VLAN on Cisco devices? There is a structured approach to setting up VLANs. So what is the first step? So first step is, you have to, phase one is the VLAN creation. Create the VLAN using the CLI command VLAN ID that I will show you in a bit in packet tracer. So you just have to go to the config mode and you have to create the VLAN and VLAN ID. Then phase two is assigning ports, because it's a static VLAN. In dynamic VLAN, what happens? There is an application that is known as VMPS. Definitely VLAN Management Policy Server. So what happens that they create a database of the MAC address of the PCs, and they automatically put the PCs in the respective VLANs, but here you do not have that. So assigning ports means assign switch ports to the created VLANs using switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN or VLAN ID. So switch port mode access means you have to configure the port as an access port that carries the untagged or unencrypted information, and only single VLAN information it carries. And switch port access VLAN and VLAN ID means to which VLAN you are actually associating the switch or the PC, that port actually. Then phase 3 is configuring trunk ports. Now you have to set trunk ports to carry traffic for multiple VLANs with switch port mode trunk and switch port trunk allowed VLANs. Allowed VLAN is a very interesting one. Like if in a trunk link you want that VLAN 10 and 11 traffic should pass, but not other VLANs, then you can actually allow the VLAN. Other VLAN traffic will be blocked. So if I have devices in both the switches, then also from one switch straight to the other, I cannot access if you are not allowing. So that is also a security part, you can say. And phase 4 is verifying configuration. You have to use a show VLAN brief, and let's say the show interface strong commands to verify VLAN setup. And phase 5 is testing connectivity. So you have to first deploy it. Then you test the connectivity, test VLAN connectivity using ping and trace route commands to ensure proper communication. Because if one PC from one VLAN cannot ping another PC from another VLAN, it is useless. And also the trace route, the tracing a route between the PCs, that is also very important. So now, what are the VLAN troubleshooting techniques you have? You have to check the VLAN configuration. Let's say it is not communicating. Any type of problem is happening in the VLAN. So you have to review the VLAN configuration involving the, say, you have to examine the VLAN database, because let's say your ports are misconfigured. So your ports are not configured properly. So what will happen? Definitely the VLAN database, it will be corrupted, like the VLAN.dat file that is there in the switch. It may get corrupted. So you have to check that. So this includes checking VLAN IDs and names, confirming that the correct ports are assigned to the, let's say, the appropriate VLAN, and it shows that no VLANs are misconfigured. So if it is not communicating, so maybe the IP address information is wrong, or you have say done some incorrect configuration, you have not tagged, you have not made the port a strong port. Anything can happen. Verifying trunk links, that I was telling you. Verifying trunk links is crucial for ensuring that the multiple VLANs can communicate across switches. So it involves checking that trunk ports are configured correctly using appropriate encapsulation method. And when you are doing encapsulation, S.1Q, or rather the old ISL one, then that encapsulation method should match the port ID. Means if your interface is, say you are doing any let's say the router on a stick configuration, and you are creating a sub interface. So if the sub interface is faster than 0 by 0 dot, let's say consider the 10, f0 by 0 dot 10, and you are using a 0.1q9 or 8, that will not happen. Your encapsulation number should match the sub interface number, and testing the link status to confirm its operation. Using show commands for diagnostics, using the show commands such as show VLAN, show interface, and show IP interface brief. It allows for quick diagnostic of VLAN related issues. So these things you have to just make sure that you give these commands for VLAN related issues, and these commands provide insights into the correct state of VLAN. There are stated ports and all the information you can get. And you have to analyze the network traffic also. Analyzing network traffic with tools like Wireshark, that is in the real environment, the real gear, network gear, or you can do it with the GNS3 or EvenG. But in packet itself, do not have the Wireshark actually. That is not available, but you can do the packet capture in some limited amount of time. And Wireshark can help identify VLAN related issues by capturing and inspecting packets. Any misconfigurations should be pinpointed and to be analyzed, and unexpected broadcast traffic or broadcast storm that you can say that might be causing problems. So there is a storm control feature also in some switches. You have the storm control feature. So there is a button called storm control. You can do it. So you have to check that also. So VLAN is a traditional network implementation. In traditional networking, you have this VLAN, and in a single broadcast domain, if you do it, then definitely potential bottlenecks will happen and traffic jams. So that is why you need to create this VLAN. But in automation also, we see that we create the VLAN, and that is for the controller based networking. Because if you go for the automation, it is slowly happening that Cisco is now wanting engineers who know the CLI mode. Definitely that is okay, but not only CLI, but they have to interpret the scripts of the Python, JSON, JavaScript object generation, YML, XML, these languages. So now many things are actually the AI based, automation based, and VLAN has no exception. So gone are the days where the administrators had to manually create the VLAN. That is very rare nowadays. Nowadays, everything is automation based, AI based. So, real world use case of VLANs, as you know, VLAN enabled network implementation. So, VLAN enabled networks allow for logical segmentation without the physical separation. So, VLAN enabled networks leads to enhanced security as sensitive data can be isolated with the specific VLAN. So, definitely in a real environment where you have to regulate the traffic flow, okay, even where you have to regulate the, say, the broadcast traffic, you have to create the VLANs, and where office traffic segmentation is necessary, then improves both security and efficiently without the need for additional hardware. So you do not need to have any other expensive switch or any other controllers. Do not need. Yes, definitely, if you are going for the automation, you need the controllers, but not any controllers for the VLAN itself. You need to have the controllers like the Cisco DNAC, Cisco Digital Network Architecture, or what we say as Catalyst Center there, or Cisco APKM. These are the controllers you have, and not any specific controller for VLAN. So you can do other activities of automation along with this VLAN. Now, what are the best practices? So 75% of network issues stem from misconfigured VLANs that we have learned. 3x the increase in troubleshooting efficiency through proper documentation. Then 50% reduction in network downtime with regular audits of VLAN, and 80% of organizations report improved security and consistent running conventions. So, as you know, VLANs play a crucial role in enhancing network efficiency and security and allowing for better traffic management, isolation of system information, and streamlined network operations. This is told by the network expert, or this is the general thing of the VLAN that I was talking about, that VLAN segment network. And for VLANs, for let's say OSPF deployment, everything is automized. But in order to do the automation, let's say in future you will make a Python script, but should you know the VLAN? Yes, definitely. If you do not know how to traditionally configure VLAN, then it is of no use. So that is about the theory behind the basic VLAN. Now let me take you to again back to the packet tracer, and let me show you how to configure VLAN, a simple VLAN network. Take a switch, pass it at 1, 3, and 4. Select mode of the switch, VLAN 10, create the VLAN, name say CCNA, exit, VLAN 20, name is CCNP. So what you can do, you can say go for F0 by 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now you have the powerful command, that is interface range, that you should know, because otherwise you have to enter the interfaces manually. Individually you have to do it. You do not need to do that. F0 by 1 to 2, switch port, mode access, access VLAN 10. So these two interfaces support F0 by 1, first is at 1 and 2 as a part of the VLAN 10. And later on we also check whether they have become the part of that. But let me go back with the exit config mode, and then interface range 0 by 3 to 4, access, which would access VLAN 20. So you have managed to create the VLAN and give Ctrl Z, go back to the privilege mode and give the command show VLAN brief. So as you can see that these are the default ports that is in the VLAN 1 by default. And now the VLAN 10, that is the CCNA, that is active on the F0 by 1 and F0 by 2 and 20, that is called the, say, the CCNP, that is active on the F0 by 3 and 4. And all other these VLANs are system reserved. Everyday default, token ring, these are all the default VLANs that we do not use anymore. Because why would you use FDD and token ring? These are very old technologies. So now you can take a router, let's say PT router, any router. Against set cable, you can trunk it. So 0 by 5. As you can see, the link is down because the port is shut down. Switch port mode trunk. Interface VLAN space 1, that is a native VLAN. Give no shut, although it's logical, but still you have to bring it up. Remember this. So I'm giving IP address 268, say 10.1, default mask. IP default gateway, say 192.168.10.10. So the interesting thing is, what is this IP address all about? This IP address is not for the switch because it's a layer 2 device. In a switch, can you say give IP address on the F0 by 5 or any other interface? No. This is the default gateway, means what? It is the IP address of this router of this facilitator port. It will do the router on a stick, means it will be several sub interfaces for these VLANs on the single physical Ethernet port, that is F0 by 0. So now go to the router, no shut, but do not give any IP. Interface by 0.1, that is the first sub interface. encap, and here it is saying dot 1q 1 IP address 10.10. That was the gateway for the switch, remember. Now remember we have created a VLAN 10. So you have to create the sub interface second f0 by 0.10, because this sub interface number, that is the way the router will segregate the traffic. It will identify the traffic from which VLAN is originating. So if you do not give 10, it will not just identify the traffic. Q 10 20.10 by 0.VLAN 20 dot 1q 20 is gateway 30.10. Which are these things? 10.10, that is the VLAN's gateway. There is a VLAN 1. 20.10 is the gateway for the VLAN 10. So where the PCs are going to send data from VLAN 10, the default gateway would be 20.10. Whenever the PCs are going to send data from VLAN 20, then the default gateway will be 30.10. So we are actually configuring the default gateways, because otherwise, if any, let's say any data coming to any router, let's consider that. So how will you distinguish between the different VLANs? Definitely it should have no knowledge about VLAN 10, 12, 30, these decimals. Okay, so that is the purpose. That is, the router on a stick means router has only one Ethernet port, the physical port, that is I'm talking about. But on top of it, it is creating some different logical ports. That is a router on a stick. It is standing on one stick or one leg, but is having different VLANs. Now it is in the 10.10, is the 20.10. 10.2 gateway is 10.10. 10.3. So 10.10 gateway. This is in 20 VLAN, so 20.2, and gateway is 20.10. 20.10. 20.3 is the IP. So now, can you ping? Ping 68 20.2. First one will be missed out. The RTO will come because of the ARP. And let me see if it's communicating, or rather it is giving me some timeout. So why is that? Let's say 20.3, but it's not communicating. So we have to troubleshoot where this problem lies, because this is 0 by 1 and 2, 3 and 4, this link is strong. So let me show you the troubleshooting part with showdown. If 0 by 1 and if 0 by 2 is part of the VLAN 10, if 0 by 3 and 4 is part of the VLAN 20, 0 by 5 is switchboard mode trunk, VLAN 1 is 10.1, and default gateway is 10.10. So I think it's okay this stage. On the router, on network 10.10, and this is 0.10, that is the VLAN 20.10 and the 30.10. So what is an issue? 20.10 and 30.10 and a dot 1q 10 1q t. This one, let's say this is 10.2 and this is 10.10, and let me see the configuration here. 10.3 and one and was 10.10, that is okay. 20, this one. But whether it is going to communicate with its own VLAN, that we have to see before going for the inter VLAN communication. As you can see, again we are getting the RTOs. So what is the IP configuration here? 10.2, so there is one 10.3. Yes, it can communicate. And also this is 20.3 and this is 20.2. It can communicate, but what is happening between the devices? So you just go to the simulation mode and capture this add symbol video, and from this 10.1, let's communicate with 20.2 and just play. So as the packet goes to the switch, switch sends it to the router, and other pieces it is not accepting, and router is not always also not accepting the packet. But why is it that? So I think the issue is there in the router part. Whether the router is going to ping the PC, this switch. Let me see. Ping 10.1. Yes, some because a miss, but yes, it can ping. Can this switch ping the router? Yes. But where is the issue? So here we are saying that in fastness 0 by 0.1, There is an native VLAN, that is the 192.10.10. It is actually communicating with the 10.1 with the switch, and for the VLAN 10, it should have 20.10 gateway. VLAN 20 should have 30.10. But is it the case in the PCs? Which IP address it has? It has 10 IP address. You can see it is having misconfigured IP address. It should have 20 network for the VLAN 10 that I have defined. So that is the very big mistake, that these mistakes can be done in a production environment. That is why I have simulated it. So what you need to do, you have to go for this 20.2, and the gateway is also wrong. It should be 20.10. That is for the VLAN 10. Similarly, here also the same mistake, 20.3. So 20.10. And here it should not be 20, it should be 30. That is in the VLAN 20. 30.10. And now if you ping from this 20.2 to 30.2 or anything else, let me see. I'm trying to ping with 30.2. Yes, as you can see, I am starting to get response. 30.3 also, it should. Yes. So this is the way you have to do the troubleshooting method in the VLAN that I was discussing. So that is why purpose I gave the wrong IP address in the VLAN and also the default gateway. So you must be very careful when assigning the IP address and default gateway. Sometimes it happens that you have assigned the correct IP, but you have forgotten to actually assign the correct default gateway. So that shouldn't be the case. So you should actually be very careful in actually configuring these VLANs and assigning the interfaces. So you have to go to a simulation and you have to point it out, because as you saw that the router is not forwarding. Because why? Because when the PCs are sending the data to the router, it is actually having the wrong default gateway address. So router has no clue that its own address is 10.0 network, and the PC is also sending from the 10.0. So what does it mean? So it is confusing for the router, and so it is discarding the packet. So this is a way we had to do the troubleshooting that I've shown you just now. So that is about the traditional VLAN configuration. And definitely if you are having say the different switches, so you can have the switch, the trunk link also you can configure it there, and also you can do it. So that is also another way to configure actually the VLAN configuration there on the switch. So that is the way you have to actually configure the VLANs. And according to the Cisco say the network automation, uh, let me come to that part, because nowadays everything is automized. So if you go for the network automation, then what will happen? That you have to make some scripts. So the same thing, because the logic is same. It is not that the logic is completely different, but you have to make some scripts either with Python, mainly with Python, then with the JSON, JavaScript object notation, YML, that is ain't markup language, that is a bit peculiar term that is there, and XML, extensible markup language. So generally you have to make scripts with the Python and JSON, and you need to have the controllers. So let me talk you about something about the Cisco automation now. So what do you mean by this automation? Automation means that automatically you have to do some works without manual intervention. Cisco network automation refers advanced technologies to actually simplify complex network processes. So whenever you want to do it manually, it requires, say, the programming part. So if you are not studying you, it is moving towards such a scenario where your administrators or engineers should know the CLI definitely, but they also have to have some skills of the, say, the programming part. They have to interpret, and they have to also program a bit. So programmability should be there. So this approach not only improves operational performance but also fosters a proactive network environment, quickly adapt to changing demands, and reduce risk as with manual intervention. So manually you can make some mistakes, but not with the controllers or scripts. So what is the importance of network automation? Is boost the efficiency through automation. So you have to automate the repetitive and time consuming tasks. Let's say you have to configure 100 VLANs within a very short span of time. How can you do it with manual intervention? You can definitely do it, but it will take a lot of time. So you have to go for the efficiency through automation. So network automation allows IT teams to focus on more strategic initiatives. So definitely it will result in more performance. Reduces human error, that was talking about. Automating network processes minimize the chances of errors that typically occur. So you cannot make the mistakes that I showed you in a VLAN in a while. So that type of mistakes will not be there. Enhances scalability. So network automation scales effortlessly to actually accommodate growth. So you can have the scalability means more resources, more PCs and servers can be accommodated, allowing organizations to add new devices and services without the typical challenges. And it improves the response time. So with automation in place, networks can actually quickly address issues that arise. So how to do the this automation? Let me tell you now. So you should have the controller. You should have the Cisco DNAC or Cisco Catalyst Center. DNAC is nowadays known as Cisco Catalyst Center or Cisco APKM, that is the overlay controller that is more advanced. But unfortunately, we do not have any software part of it in no application, not in Packet Tracer, not in GNS3, not in UNG till now. Till date, they haven't released it. So you have to buy the hardware part, and it is very costly. So only big enterprises or cloud data centers, ISP, they go for this automation. Others do not. So you have to build some programs or scripts, and you have to push it to the controller through the API. That is the process. Through the API, you have to push it to the controller. So that way you can do it. But in Cisco's environment, even in their sandbox labs, also I've checked that the permission is not there. The Cisco is not given any permission. If you even search for the sandbox labs, and if you want to say pass any request, a post request, let's say for any device configuration, it will not pass into the devices because Cisco will not allow it. It is access denied. Every time you want to do it, you get an access denied message. So they do not allow to configure their devices. So sometimes before they allow to get some information, not about the VLAN or some specific, but you had to get the information about the interfaces, the IP addresses, OSP configuration. But nowadays that is also blocked, or the password is changed. So it is difficult to do those labs there other unless you purchase one. So it is free labs. This is not possible nowadays. So you have to either purchase the lab, or you have to go for some Cisco so very high level simulations, Cisco modeling labs, or those things that is very costly, or you have to go for real life devices. Otherwise, network automation, as we know, that is a SD-WAN, software defined wide area network. That is a completely different phase of networking. So you have to know the CCNP, the BGP protocol, and then only you can go for this automation. So this is not a very basic or beginner thing that you want to do the automation right away. Before that, you have to have a lot of knowledge. So key components of Cisco data automation is Cisco DNS Center, Cisco ACI, that is the complete fabric that I was talking about. ACI is the security part, security framework, you can say. Network services orchestrator means the authentication. There are many things like you can have the different components like vManage, vSmart. So these are the different type of components you are having in the Cisco network automation. vSmart is the controller, the router itself. vManage is the, let's say, the network interface that you get. So all these things are the integrated. Cisco Meraki dashboard. Meraki is a very new thing, that Cisco Meraki is cloud. So everything is integrated. So if you are having any controller dashboard, so there you can see the complete network infrastructure, the complete network picture, and you can customize the network. You can, in the DNS center, in the DNAC, you can have the view, look and feel of the network. But to have that, you have to have that real one. Otherwise, there is no such simulation now. Cisco DNS Center overview. DNS Center acts as a backbone for network automation, and it enables IT teams to manage the network more efficiently and effectively. So DNS Center is the controller. See, there are two things. There is overlay, there is a SD-WAN, software-defined wide area network, and there is a underlay, that is a LAN, SD access we say. So DNS Center deals with both, but it actually is concerned with the SD access, the Catalyst Center controller, and Epic EM, that is the more advanced controller that is used for the overlay, that is the SD-WAN, software defined wide area network access. Now automation tools and technologies. Now key metrics, we have to highlight the efficiency and effectiveness of Cisco automation. Before that, let me tell you what is the difference between the traditional network and the automation based network or software defined network that we say. In traditional network, the router does three planes. One is the control plane, there is a routing. Second is the data plane, data transfer, and third is the management plane, that is the remote connectivity or managing the routers, remotely configuring the router switches. But in automation, the control plane, that is the main function of the router, that is transferred to the controllers. Routers are left with management plane and data plane. That is the main part, main difference between the traditional network and automation based networking. So what is the use of it? What is the advantage? 80% faster application with deployment with Cisco ACI fabric. 90% reduction in troubleshooting time using Cisco DNA assurance. Multi-vendor support through Cisco NSO. So you have different vendors, not only Cisco. You have the VMware. The different vendors are there who have this Cisco, say, Velo Clouds. There are different things are there. Different providers are coming on with this automation, not only Cisco. And 60% improvement in operational efficiency with Cisco Meraki. And 99% increase in network visibility with Cisco DNS Center. So network complete visibility you have to achieve, because in the CLI mode you do not have the complete visibility. You cannot say that the end devices, that is device that is n number of hops away, the last device, you cannot have that complete picture. You have to go hop by hop. But here it is not the case. Here every device has a complete picture of the entire network. So what are the use cases for network automation? It is automated device provisioning of network devices. Actually, it streamlines the setup process, it reduces time and ensures consistency. So definitely, that what I was telling you, that if you have to process hundreds of VLANs, hundreds of devices in a very small period of time, so you can go for this automation. You have no other choice. Configuration management and compliance. Configuration management ensures that all network devices comply with organizational policies and standards. So definitely compliance maintains and policy maintenance is a very important one. So there are different standards also, as we know, and it leads to enhanced security also and operational integrity and performance issue. Real-time monitoring and alerting. So real-time monitoring enables actually the proactive identification of network issues. So you have to do the analysis, you have to do the auditing. Without it, you cannot actually detect the anomalies, allowing for immediate intervention and actually minimizing potential disruption to services. So you have to do all these things together. And incident response automation. The incident response automation facilitates swift resolution to network incidents, and it leverages predefined workflows actually to minimize downtime and improves service reliability. So, because of the automation, we can say increase efficiency by automating the routine and repetitive tasks. Cisco network automation allows IT personnel to focus on higher value activities. So, you need less administrators, and they will be focused on their jobs. Like one person that is doing the router configuration, they do not need to look for the other configurations. So, they have to focus on their own job. They can do it. And benefits of implementing automation is cost saving, definitely. As I've told you, cost saving means automation reduces the need for manual intervention. So previously, say for one job you need to have 100 network engineers, now you have 50 or even less than network engineers. But it's not that automation is actually taking your jobs, that is not the case. But people who know the automation, they are the advantage. But definitely if you do not know the automation, that is not a very big deal. But yes, automation is not replacing the networks, but people who know the automation, they are replacing the traditional network. But what are the challenges and considerations for this automation? First of all, initial investment consideration. Yes, that I've already told you about the controller. It is costly. First of all, you have to buy it, say first and controller. So you have to buy, and it is costly to deploy it. For even a small to medium enterprise, is a huge cost. Integration complexity challenges. So it has to be, built with the existing infrastructure. So your router, switches, models should support. iOS should support. This is also a bit challenging. Maybe it's a challenge for you. Skills and requirements for teams also, and you have to train the teams and effective change management strategies. So keeping view in those things, what are the future trends that we observe in 2023? It's increased integration of AI technologies to enhance decision making. So in 2023 it actually started the predictive analysis in network management, but it generally it grew. In 2024, a greater emphasis on security automation to address evolving cyber threats. So everything cyber security, AI automation is integrated. Nothing can be done individually. 2025, expansion of automation technologies in edge computing and enabling more efficient local data processing and fast and responsive. So what happens that automation is coming in a big way, and Cisco certifications, CCN also has automation programming chapter, and it will increase in future. Say whenever they will change or update the certification in a major way. Previously they did only the version 1.0 to version 1.1, a minor update, but they are scheduled for the major update. So I think the automation will have a very important role here. So these are the trends in the network automation. And as you know, the Cisco network automation represents a pivotal shift in how organizations manage their networks, leveraging cutting edge technologies to create more resilient, efficient, and adaptable infrastructure. So this is a pivotal shift, means it's a change. Many persons say that network is no longer there, but it is not true. Network is definitely there and is also a very stable technology and a stable carrier. But yes, you have to move with the trends, move with the, say, the waves that I say, and you have to know the cloud, you have to know the automation. That is the thing that you have to do, and automation changes the entire the landscape of the Cisco networking. And if you want to know more, then you have to go for the Cisco, I can say, sandbox labs, and I can show you the link, but definitely there is no permission to have the automation. They are not allowing their devices to configure even to get the results. So definitely I am not able to show you that purpose, that practical right now. But you can actually go and you have to check it out whether they are giving you any paid version of this sandbox, and then you have to log into that, and then you have to do it. So definitely you have to log in with the Google credentials or the Cisco that you have, and then you just search for any such devices, like there are routers, switches, controllers, but definitely nothing is there available for to be configured. Like this Catalyst 9000 always on, let's say the sandbox. all this thing. Even the Cisco modeling labs is not free at all. So this one, you just check it out about all these things. And also, say this sandbox, you just study the instructions. There is on the iOS XE, there is not the iOS based, but there is iOS XE based sandbox. And what are the access details, how to create a reservation. See, reservation is not paid, it's mostly free, but you have to sometimes use the VPN. Even some labs are free, you do not need to use any VPN. Some labs are not like that. Some labs you have to use the Cisco AnyConnect or any other VPN. This is a public URL, RESTCON port, Netcom, RESTCONF and Netcom. These are released in the automation management. These are the tools, SH port 22. So you have to set it up in the API client like Postman. If you are using any post request or GET request, so getting the device, the instructions or even the configuring, you have to set up those things. So there you have to do it. So you have to copy that URL, copy that URL, and then you have to just open that. But you have to make sure that it is happening. They are having the issues with the permissions, they're having the login issues. Whenever you have this username, sometimes it is devnet user, sometimes it's developer, and the passwords if you do. But I found that if you can log in, sometimes it doesn't log in and sometimes it logs in successfully, but even then the permission is denied, means even you cannot get any information, you cannot extract any information. Because previously what we did, we used to have the SNMP, simple network management protocol, that to extract and configure the devices. But now the automation has come, but the attacks have also increased. Why Cisco has done it? Because of the protection. They have to protect the devices, because you can also practice the devices, that is that you are fine, but other attackers can misuse it. So definitely they will not allow those persons to misuse their infrastructure and do the collateral damage on the infrastructure. So definitely they have to protect. So this is how this self-service, this is there, but it is not always working that way. You can use other devices, but not this sandbox always to do every configuration that you like. So we have discussed today how you shift from the traditional networking. I've shown you step by step how to create VLANs, how to do troubleshooting VLANs. That is also like the traditional networking part, and how we shift towards the major change, that is network automation. And you have to know these features. You have to know VLAN. You have to know the OSPF configuration. Otherwise, if you say that without knowing that, I will make some scripts, who will give you the scripts? ISP? Definitely not. You have to make the scripts on your own. So, definitely, you cannot achieve that without having some basic fundamental knowledge about the networking. So, networking is a very stable career, and the CCNA, CCNP, all the certifications, as you know, this is actually the main driving force behind your networking career. So the Cisco Certified Network Associate and Network Professional has come a long way, and yes, they have evolved into very specific ones. Previously, we had the different streams of Cisco CCNA that we saw, like that routing, switching, security, data center, voice. Nowadays, is known as collaboration. But in the CCNA level, we do not have the individual streams nowadays. It is only one, a single one. There's a Cisco CCNA Enterprise, means it has got all flavors in one of the environment. So we can say that Cisco CCN and CCNP also, it actually now has the NRC and NCORE papers. Means although we have the different the papers of NRC, without NRC also you can have other options. But advanced routing and switching NRC, that is the main paper, still people like to prefer, because that is where we actually configure the routing protocols, routing the BGP, OSPF, EIGRP, everything is there. So I think this is a very good career prospect in the Cisco networking still, because in the era of the, say, the cybersecurity, the cloud, if you ask me, as a senior network trainer, I can tell you that definitely the Cisco courses have in this 2026 is coming, and here it is valuable, because networking is always the first thing that a company set up. They always set up the networking first, and then the other infrastructures, that is the cloud and cybersecurity or any other infrastructure, they set up. So if you do not know the networking, if you do not know the packet flow, if you do not know the VLAN, if you do not have any idea that why the VLAN was created, if you do not know the ARP, that is why I started from the ARP. So then definitely you are lagging behind. So you should have the proper understanding of the networking first, and then you can go for the other advanced features. You have to definitely go at par with the latest technologies. There is no such confusion, but yes, you have to start from the networking. And Cisco, like any other providers, they provide a very good learning solution, and they have their own portals also for your self study. And Cisco voice like collaboration, it is not having greater values like the other older days because of this online, this Zoom, this Skype, these platforms. But the enterprise, the routing switching that I'm going to talk about, that is always valuable, and it will be always valuable in future also. So if you are aspiring the network professional, you should go for this CCNA and CCNB certifications right now. And as a senior network trainer, I also teach the CCN and CCNB certifications. I can tell you that definitely it will be a very helpful for your career and for your career prospect, your job. And also, if you are going for the certification, also that will be a very good prospect for your career. So that is it about the now that I have for you all. And I thank you all for watching and joining this workshop once again. And I hope that you have gotten immense knowledge out of this workshop, and you will be able to incorporate this knowledge in your enterprise networking also and in your training. So that is it from me about the beginner friendly Cisco network automation and VLAN deployment for now. And definitely I'll come with some major new topics also next time. So that is it from me from now, and for the time being, next I will switch over you to Romila for any other further updates. So over to you, Romila, ma'am.
Um, Thank you, Debashish sir, for the session. And everyone, I hope this session was useful and gave you clarity on, networking basics and the real world use in the industry. Now, many of you are here might be freshers, students, or working professionals. Some may be already in IT. Some may be planning to switch domains. But no matter where you are, one thing is clear, that is strong fundamentals and practical skills matter a lot. Now, that's why I want to tell you about the courses we have. See, if you are interested in networking, we have CCNA for you, which is to build strong fundamentals in networking. And then we have CCNP, which is for advanced networking. Now, if you are more into cybersecurity domain, then we have ethical hacking, we have web application penetration testing, network penetration testing, SOC analyst. Also, we have a diploma course, diploma in cybersecurity, which is a complete structured program. All these programs are practical oriented with hands on labs, real scenarios, and proper guidance, not just theory. Now, coming to a special benefit for today's attendees, if you enroll today by 8 p.m., then we are offering 10% discount on the course fee. So, if you are interested or have any query, any doubt related to the course, you can just directly contact me. My number is 89613 You can just call me or WhatsApp me. I'll personally guide you. And yeah, so that's all for today. Thank you everyone for joining the session and your participation.